Welcome everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me. Thank you so much for joining us for the Project Ready information session. My name's Trent McCarthy and I'm the CEO of the Central Ranges Local Learning and Employment Network, the LEN in the Central Ranges, and we are the creators of Project Ready. Before I introduce the team and hand you over to the creator of Project Ready, I'd like to start off by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands that we're all joining today's session from. I'd personally like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Wurrung people of the Eastern Kulin Nations and pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and recognise that their sovereignty was never ceded. And also to recognise that the work of LENs, and I'm sure this is the case for many of our education colleagues who've joined us and industry colleagues who've joined us from across the state today, that our work is often and always done in solidarity with Aboriginal people and particularly young people. So it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Lena Way. Lena is the Director of Engagement for Central Ranges LEN and the founder and creator of Project Ready. So I'm going to hand you over to Lena and you can hear all about what we do with Project Ready and how you can be involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Trent, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us to find out more about Project Ready. I'd like to invite you all to place in the chat just your name and where you're from. And if you're a school, how many students you think you might have doing the vocational major next year. That would be great if you could pop that in the chat, please. I'd also like to introduce my colleagues joining us today. We've got Janelle Liddy, who is our Project Ready Training and Wellbeing Support Manager. Rod Begbie, who's our Project Ready Trainer and Vet Support Manager. And they'll both be monitoring the chat and the Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat or the Q&A at any time during the presentation. And if you have any technical problems, we have Emma, our technical, pop in the chat any tech challenges that you might be having, and hopefully she can help you. So by way of very brief background, Project Ready was established in 2017 by Central Ranges Local Learning and Employment Network to address the needs of our local students. And since then, it has been redeveloped to meet the needs of a wider range of secondary students, such as those who will be undertaking the vocational major next year. So what is Project Ready? It incorporates Vet Certificate 2 in active volunteering, and it is a proven, ready-made program that will enable schools to meet the requirements of the VCE vocational major. It comes with a lesson plans, including a facilitated manual outlining all the session plans, student workbooks, and an online assessment platform. And it's the only qualification that all TAE qualified teachers can easily gain vocational competency for. So that is a big win for TAE teachers who may be wanting to deliver VET in their schools and are looking to achieve vocational competency. It's Project Ready spans 12 months and it has a focus on preparing students for work and life. It's based on applied learning principles and it incorporates a lot of games, lots of visuals, kinesthetic activities, industry excursions and guest speakers. There are 8 units of competency in Project Ready and that equates to over 185 nominal hours, which gains students 2 credits towards their VCE. Students undertake a very wide range of learning outcomes as part of their AUOCs, including a community project, work placement, teamwork, career planning, industry engagement activities, enterprise and entrepreneurial skills, diversity training, communication skills, workplace health and safety, and it's all delivered using our proven and evidence-based relational methodology, which I will talk about later in the presentation. The best students connections with many members of the community and local employers through their community project work, guest speakers coming to talk to the students, industry visits and work placements. So Project Ready is flexible enough that the industry partnerships can be adapted to meet the needs of local jobs and labour shortages. The really important point for education in joining us today. All around care students. Research conducted by the Foundation for Young Australians with 14,000 young people last year showed that the transition from school to increasingly uncertain. 80% of people aged 25 cannot find a job. It's taking young people 2.6 years to attain full-time employment after leaving education. And despite 60% of young people aged 25 years having a post-school qualification, 50% are unable to secure full-time work. 76% of students say they didn't get enough work experience while they were at school. 50% said they lacked the appropriate careers education. And 25% say they don't have enough interview or job application skills to be able to land a job. 1 in 4 students suffer from poor mental health. And there is a skills gap. A report produced by Y Australia shows that young people see a gap in their life skills and work-ready skills in order to engage successfully in the world of work. And these skills include how to approach people, effective communication, handling challenging conversations, understanding taxes, managing finances, navigating insurance and credit cards, banking, how to apply for loans, financial pitfalls, CV writing and interview skills, and workplace rights and responsibilities. Young people are consistently telling us these skills are critical in their preparation and development towards employability. And Project Ready incorporates all of these life and work readiness skills. And if you need some more convincing that Project Ready might be right for your students, here are some more statistics. 60% of students who undergo careers education show improvement in educational attainment. Wages increase by 1.6% per career talk that a student receives during secondary school. And students are 25% less likely to be on welfare if they do 4 or more employer engagement activities during their secondary schooling. So who should do Project Ready? We think all year 10 to 12 students should do Project Ready. And it's especially suited to those students who will undertake the VCE vocational major, students who need help choosing a career path, who need credits towards their VCE, or who need to build self-confidence or communication skills, or who want to get ready for the workforce or further training. We believe that Project Ready is adaptable and flexible enough that it can be tailored towards high achieving students or disengaged or at-risk students. Over the past 5 years, Project Ready has been very successful for students who are at risk and disengaged. Project Ready has several aims. The first aim of Project Ready is to create what we call groupness, a safe group space where students feel comfortable to learn and share so they can personally develop. If students don't feel comfortable or safe, they can't learn. To use a strength-based approach to help students discover their unique talents, strengths and passions in order to plan for their career. To help students understand possible training and work pathways through a range of career development and industry engagement activities. To build self-worth, confidence and resilience. To improve students' communication skills and teach students workplace communication, diversity and inclusion skills. To learn work readiness skills such as the job application process and how to go for a job interview. To train students in stress management, mindfulness and goal setting, including learning about what stress feels like in your body, how to cope with stress and healthy habits. To learn project development, enterprise and entrepreneurial skills, including financial literacy and problem solving. Workplace safety skills, and for students to undertake a work placement and 20 hours of volunteer work. As mentioned, there are 8 units of competency in Project Ready. They are be an effective volunteer, use short and simple strategies for career planning, apply communication skills, work with diverse people, participate in workplace health and safety, recognise extremely short and simple workplace signs and symbols, develop personal effectiveness, and participate in work placement. So as I said, 8 units of competency, which equates to 185 nominal hours. Plus we have some non-assessed Project Ready units, which we call working in a group, design thinking theory, and enterprise and entrepreneurial skills. So there are 2 operating and funding models to deliver Project Ready. So the first model is where the school provides the facilitator or trainer. The program is delivered on or off school grounds by the school's VIT registered TAE qualified teacher accredited in Project Ready. And there's more information about Project Ready accreditation on our website. The school receives a comprehensive facilitators manual, student handbooks in hard copy for every student, and ongoing professional development and trainer support from our Project Ready team. All the program costs are paid for by the school. Schools receive band funding, covering fees outlined, which I will outline in a moment. So government schools receive approximately $800 per enrolled student in band funding, and Catholic schools receive approximately $450 per enrolled student in vet band funding. So for example, if a government school has 15 students enrolled in Project Ready, the school would receive $12,000 in band funding, and it would cost the school around $10,725. So there is about $1,275 spare. In a Catholic school for 15 students enrolled, the school would receive $6,750. It would cost the school $10,725. So there's a contribution of $3,975. We need to have student enrolments by the 31st of September, so a list of students, and we need to have agreements with Central Ranges LEN and AAG, which is our RTO, who auspices the program, by the 31st of October. The school will receive support from its local LEN for industry and community partnerships, the organisation of guest speakers, structured workplace learning, the community project, and industry tours. The fee paid to Central Ranges LEN is $6,000 as a set fee plus $100 per enrolled student. And there is a fee of $215 per student, which goes straight to AAG, our RTO. And there's also a refundable vet materials fee paid to AAG of $240 per student, and that's refundable to government schools. Our next operating and funding model is model 2 and 3, which is where the local LEN supplies the facilitator. So model 2 is for mainstream groups of students, and model 3 is for inclusive education students who may be undertaking the Pathways certificate. So the program is delivered off school grounds by an accredited Project Ready facilitator with TAE employed by the local LEN. And the reason why we need to deliver off school grounds is that our trainers are not necessarily VIT registered teachers, and they may not have permission to teach on campus. There needs to be an agreement with the local LEN that they agree to participate and to employ a trainer for your school. And the LEN will source volunteer mentors and TAFE University students to support the delivery of the program. All the program costs, including excursions, are paid for by the LEN. And of course, the LEN will support industry connections and community partnerships, including work placement and guest speakers. The fee paid to the LEN is negotiated. It's a cost recovery model, which can be negotiated with each particular LEN. And of course, there is the fee of $215 paid directly to AAG, plus the refundable vet materials fee of $240 per student for government schools. So what is needed from your school? If you are looking at Model 1, which is where the school supplies the facilitator, then you need to supply a TAE qualified Project Ready accredited trainer. And there's more information, as I mentioned, about accreditation on our website. We need student enrolment with USI by the 31st of October. And the school needs to verify that students are able to undertake a Cert 2 level qualification and that they have the LLN skills to be able to do that. We need that confirmation by the 30th of September. And that all agreements are signed with the LEN and AAG by the 31st of October. All students participating in Project Ready will need access to a laptop or a Chromebook on their vet day. And we need a point of contact at the school, someone who can help us out with student attendance, getting messages to students and parents, and also negotiating tricky behaviours or issues which may arise during Project Ready. We need support from time to time from the wellbeing team and careers advisor, and we invite those staff members to particular sessions, maybe 2 or 3 times per year. And for models 2 and 3, where the LEN are supplying the facilitator, we like to have background information on the students so that we can really be aware of who we're working with and deliver the program as best we can in a personalised way for each student. And of course, we ask the school to supply education aids for funded students. So the relational pedagogy I mentioned before has been developed and refined over the past 5 years. And we believe that students cannot learn if they don't feel well and if they don't feel safe. So in that way, wellbeing is the cornerstone of Project Ready. Regardless of whether students are disengaged or not, we use a trauma-informed approach to training and learning, where the facilitator gets to know each student, cares for that student, and has absolute positive regard for the individual. And we know it works irrespective of whether those students have a trauma background or not. In 2019, we engaged La Trobe University to undertake an independent evaluation of Project Ready, and the feedback from that study is that Project Ready and the relational pedagogy we use are very effective in delivering on the aims of the program. As I mentioned before, Project Ready comes with a comprehensive facilitators manual with session plans for all of the 8 units of competency. So this is an example of what you would find as a trainer in the facilitators manual. Everything is mapped out against the units of competency. There's warm-up activities for every session, facilitator comments, questions, and of course the session plan. There's also assessments which students do on an online platform called Catapult. This is another example of a session as part of the unit of competency called Work with Diverse People. So all of the work has been done, all of the mapping has been done. There's no more curriculum development for teachers or facilitators to do, it's all there. And as explained, every student receives a hard copy student workbook. And that's just an example of one of the sessions from the unit Develop Personal Effectiveness. So students do some formative learning, some written learning, as well as their assessments, which have been kept basic. Students say the program is a game changer. Another student said, I got to push to strive towards my passion and focus on the good in life instead of the bad. It's given me a better idea of what I want to do next year. And this is from a parent. It keeps the kids engaged and breaks up their week. Jane assists with communicating to the career advisors on behalf of the kids, and she listens and understands their future goals. So that is a brief overview of Project Ready. I am sure there are questions, and there may have been questions posted in the chat. There is, of course, more information on Project Ready at www.projectready.vic.edu.au. But if anyone would like to ask questions now, Rod, Trent, Janelle, and myself are free to answer your questions.
So the questions are in the Q&A, Lena, so you can have a little look there, see if there are any questions that you are able to answer. I can just talk about a couple that have come up and maybe we can discuss them as a panel. One was about are there minimum numbers, Lena, and or is it just minimum fees? Yeah, maybe we'll start with that one.
So there are minimum numbers for Model 2 or 3, which is where the LEN provides the facilitator. There does need to be a minimum number so that I guess it's effective for the school in terms of attracting band funding. If there are schools interested in that model where the LEN does provide the facilitator, then we're happy to form a discussion between your local LEN and the school to talk about how we can best structure the costs of that program to meet the needs of the school.
If I'll just follow on that one, actually, if it's helpful, Rod and Lena, we've got a great question from Howard, who's joined us from out in Gippsland Eastway. Great to see you online, Howard. And that's just in relation to whether this is the sort of activity that LENs might be doing as part of their DET contract. Yes, absolutely. This is very much about giving all students an opportunity to engage with industry and community, so is absolutely consistent with the work of LENs. What is important is that Project Ready is a trauma-informed program, so it's quite unique in the sense that it provides a lot of industry engagement opportunities, but also in a way that is supportive for a full range of students. So we think that's one of the special things about it, and it has been recognised, thankfully, and we are very grateful to the department for supporting us with a VET Innovation Grant, which is how we've been able to expand the reach of Project Ready for all schools across the state as well. Thanks, and happy to follow up, Howard, if you've got any more questions.
Thanks, Lena. We've got another question from Reese. They're asking, how do you see Project Ready? I'm sorry, I've just got my chat disappeared for a second. The question is, how do you see the Project Ready working with the VPC?
So the pathway certificate for inclusive education. It certainly does work very well for that cohort, and we have delivered Project Ready in an adapted and modified way for inclusive education cohorts before, and students have been able to achieve the qualification. So the short answer is it will work for that group of students. We've delivered at Seymour College Inclusive Education, Caliana, Sunbury and Macedon Ranges Specialist School. So we have had experience with delivering to inclusive education cohorts with some modifications to the learning materials and the assessments.
Thank you. And we've got another question from Howard, actually. Gee, Len, they've received some pushback from DET on delivering wellbeing activities, wellbeing in inverted commas, wellbeing activities, with the comment that schools are funded through other programs for wellbeing.
I can probably just give you an answer on that one. It is absolutely a wellbeing and trauma-informed program, and absolutely, but also meets those really important industry engagement competencies. While I've got the floor, I've got a great question here from Bev Hoffman at the North East LEN. Is the Cert 2 qual appropriate in the context of special education? I think absolutely this is why the really important component that supports a Project Ready program, a Cert 2 and active volunteering program, is actually the CRLLEN test, which is administered as part of the entrance process. And that's why we're encouraging schools and LENs working with schools to start that process early, to really get that list together by the 31st of September, so that you can start to identify which students may need additional support, but certainly our experience has been that students doing a Cert 2 can complete these units because they are really well suited. And in fact, our LLN test is well suited to students in special education environments as well.
We've got another question from Tegan, and I think Tegan's with the Inclusive Ed group, and she's asking whether there's an option to have it extended from 12 months to 24 months.
Yes, I believe that is an option. So that is something that we can discuss with our RTO, but I believe that that is certainly an option.
Great, thank you.
We've been discussing that with our RTO at the moment, and yeah, it's there are some complications sometimes with just small amounts of additional costs for the extension, but they've definitely told us that that is possible. I might just quickly roll on to the TAE qualification issue. So some people are asking about which TAE qualification is the most current. It's always hard to remember the numbers, but I think it's the 410016, but it is the
40116.
Yeah, so it has the upgrade for LLN and assessment. So if someone has the 10, which is the old qualification, you need those 2 upgrades. The second upgrade is more demanding than the first, but it would definitely be a lot shorter than starting the TAE from scratch. But yeah, that's something that you can contact us and we can give you more information about.
There's a question here. How can businesses, companies and industry get involved? Great question. So there's a lot of involvement with local business in Project Ready through guest speakers. We invite people from local businesses to come in and talk to the students, also to accept students for work placement. So there's that opportunity as well. Industry visits, so we like to take students out to show them different industries and different companies and how they work, but the program is flexible enough that we can structure the industry part of Project Ready to I suppose to meet local job demands and workforce demands.
I'll just add to that as well. There's a further question, Lena, about is there a package for businesses and industry in terms of how to be involved. We do have a range of industry partnership packages to support. So if an industry or an employer wishes to initiate and encourage a Project Ready program, we've also got that way in as well. And we have some particular industries and employers that have come on board as the major partner or sponsor of particular programs. And that's because they see that value of sustained engagement with a cohort of students over a period of time. So we do have the option of a more industry specific Project Ready program, and please contact us to have a chat about that as well.
So with regards to the LLN requirements, so the language, literacy, numeracy skills of students undertaking this qualification, the school needs to verify and supply a letter to AAG that the students are capable of undertaking a Certificate 2 level qualification. So that does fall back on the school. There is leeway to be able to adjust assessments somewhat for students who are in an inclusive education setting, but they do need to be able to meet the basic LLN requirements of a Certificate 2 level qualification. So I hope that's answered those questions relating to the LLN testing.
Lena, we've got another question from Karen Brennan about the timelines. Absolutely, it does require us to start working together soon if you are interested. There is some flexibility around some of those timelines depending on what you're working with, but we put those timelines down because we know the important work to get Project Ready up and running really begins in the year before, and that's why we're encouraging you to look to what the cohort of students might be. Now, what we do find is you may have a list of students that you can get together by the 31st of September. That may change as you get closer to the start of next year, but you've got to start somewhere. And in fact, it's actually making it as student-based and student responsive as possible, which is where we start with. I'll just also respond. Mariam has asked a great question about what does this look like outside of regional areas. There's obviously a lot of regional schools that run Project Ready, but it is also delivered in a range of metro schools as well. And we have clusters of metro schools sometimes that come together that are nearby. So it's been really successful. There's a great group in the south part of Melbourne around Hampton, and there's some great video content of the activities they do. Obviously, the key thing here is to be responsive to the local opportunities in that area, and to give those students the chance to explore further afield as well. So very responsive. And in terms of cohorts, that's why we say it's really important to start early, start soon, and start making sure that you can adapt the program to meet the needs of the students that you're wanting to work with. So whether that cohort has different barriers to education or different interests, it's all about being able to customise it to that local level.
And is there an age group, a key age group where you see the most success? And yes, I would say year 10. This is an ideal program for year 10 students.
And I've just got a comment here from Karen who's saying that timelines are really tight, and Karen understands the need for this, but it's going to be hard to meet the deadline if we have to start the discussion from the beginning. Yes, we hear you, Karen. But we need to set this role in motion so that then we can make sure that we get really solid recruitment and induction and accreditation of all of the trainers, whether they're based in a school or they're recruited by a LEN.
It's probably also worth adding, and I know Lena covered this really well in the presentation before, but one of the things that is fabulous about both Project Ready and also the Cert 2 in active volunteering is that it's the one certificate for which it's incredibly easy to demonstrate vocational competency. So anyone who is a current teacher or is involved in education or community has a great opportunity to demonstrate their involvement in that way, and that is the basis for vocational competency for the Cert 2 in active volunteering. So for schools that are thinking about what is it that we can offer our students who otherwise might have done a year 10, say, VCAL program or another program, this is a great way to commence those students on a program that actually is very well linked and very well connected to both the VM and the VPC. And that's really important. That's why we've been able to broaden the offer of Project Ready, is so that any school that is looking to have to implement the VM, the vocational major or Victorian Pathway certificate next year can and needs a qualification in the community services area. This is one that you can get going. You need the most up-to-date version of the TAE, and if you haven't got that, then obviously that's a conversation to have with us about how to go about getting skilled up in time.
And just to add to that, our team can assist any of those teachers wanting to gain their vocational competency in active volunteering to be able to deliver Project Ready. We're able to help you with your trainer skills matrix and all of that process to allow you to become an accredited trainer. And in terms of Project Ready induction and training, that is all funded through Project Ready, through the Project Ready team. We offer ongoing professional development and training for all of our facilitators, whether they are employed by a school or a LEN. And we do lots of check-ins to see how you're going with the project. And there's also a regular peer learning circle, PLC, for all of our facilitators across the state. So it's a very supportive group of trainers.
Just another question there about what does this mean for independent schools? We're really pleased we do have independent schools involved. Hester Hornbrook Academy is one of those schools that has Project Ready at the moment, and Janelle is our trainer there at the moment. So what we do in the case where there is not a band funding allocation available to the school, that's where we work with the school to work out how to make the program work. And for every school, the funding situation can be a little bit different. What's really important is that we work with you to identify how to make that happen. So obviously band funding for government schools is a bit simpler. For Catholic schools, it's a little bit different. For independent schools, it just depends on how you would normally fund VET. And it's generally using the same sorts of mechanisms, but happy to have a conversation if you want to reach out.
Okay, I think we have answered. Oh, there's another question from Paolo. How can you express an interest in becoming a mentor And is there support for mentors? We love industry mentors. We absolutely love to have business people come and mentor our young people. And I might hand over to Janelle to answer the question about the support for volunteer mentors.
Fabulous. Thanks, Lena. Yeah, my role is actually as training and wellbeing support manager. So my role is all about supporting the facilitators and the volunteer mentors. So we're pretty careful and supportive with how we set people up to go into the room and how we then support them on their journey with being a volunteer mentor with us. So they always do a debrief at the end of the day with their facilitator, but we also have peer learning circles for volunteer mentors. So they have their own community of practice. They can reflect on what's working, what's been challenging, and how they can gain support or learning. So yeah, we're really conscious of supporting and developing people when they're working with us.
And Janelle, I'm aware of the great work that Paolo does with industry mentors in his organisation. So it's great to have you on here as well, Paolo. One of the things that we look to do is to ensure that our mentors are not out of pocket for their engagement, their involvement, because they are volunteers. So all the costs of associated with being able to attend events and those sorts of things with us as part of Project Ready, those costs are covered. We don't want people to be having to be out of pocket to be involved in a voluntary capacity, and we really value that. We do also put our mentors, as Janelle said, through professional and personal development as well to support their roles, and it's often the case that our mentors become training facilitators, and we've had quite a few people that have moved from that role to actually taking on and leading a program as well.
Jess McDowell has a question. Are there any age restrictions in participating in the program? So yes, the students do need to, because this is a VET program, the students need to turn 15 by the 1st of May in the year that they are participating. And they also cannot go off and do their work placement, their structured workplace learning, until they have turned 15. We usually do that in term 4 anyway.
And Rod, you may or may not know this answer for compliance, but with the language literacy and numeracy test, we've just got a question on whether this is aimed at the ASCF level 1.
Yeah, no, I saw that question. I know that the course itself, the units tend to be level 1, level 2 units. So it is a little bit of a judgment call sometimes for the schools in negotiation with the trainer, and we've had some situations where students have been put in the group, and then there's been additional support needed to as the year has gone on to make sure they can get through the materials. So it is something that we're refining, but generally speaking, it's kind of level 1. Like our experience is that ASCF level 1 is, students should be able to attempt the course successfully.
Considering it's a certificate 2 in active volunteering, they need to have the capacity to work at certificate 2 level. But we do have, of course, we have reasonable adjustment, which we support our facilitators with, especially our special ed, inclusive ed facilitators. We help them and allow them to have more hours for reasonable adjustment with their students if they have special learning needs. Which
relates to Arisa's question about training for facilitators for students with disabilities and neurodiversity. So one thing that we've tried to do in the past is to have teachers who are trained in working with students with disability as facilitators in that model 1. So then they're bringing those skills already, and then we can support them with the other kind of training that they need. Obviously, if a school wants a LEN to run a course for them and with students with disabilities, then that's something that the LEN and the school need to work together to make sure they have an appropriate candidate. But we are also adding to and refining our professional development all the time. So there's always scope for us to add more, but it's challenging because the trainers are dealing with a huge range of students, often in the one group, and so we're always kind of trying to work out where the balance is and where the priorities are training wise.
Folks, we're coming towards the end of our prescribed session, which is to 4:15. We hopefully have answered all of the questions that we've put in there, and there have been some fantastic questions. I'll just check with the team if there's any final questions before we bring the session to an end today.
We've got a couple of questions still outstanding and a couple of comments in terms of how a language literacy and numeracy and PTR assessments conducted, and what's the tolerance range for support if a student has an identified area of need. We've sort of answered that really. And is there a package that employers, businesses are provided to support the employers? We usually do it by negotiation more than a package.
That's right. I think we might have touched on that one before.
Yeah.
But please, for anyone that's joined us, we know we have a number of industry, government and community partners that are interested in Project Ready, being involved, supporting their local schools to get a program up and running. Please reach out to us. We have had some wonderful stories which have actually led to young people exploring employment with those employers, but also those employers seeing Project Ready as a way to engage their workforce in a really safe and supportive environment with young people. And in fact, one of the things that we are always on the lookout for is how to strengthen the experience for both employers as mentors, as guest speakers, as hosts for our work placement, and also as potential future employers as well. And sometimes it's not one employer on their own, sometimes it's a group of employers that come together to support their schools. Folks, I know that there's a lot of questions that have been asked, and that you may have other questions that have come out of today. We are available, and you'll have certainly have my contact details, but if you go to the Project Ready website, there's some contact details there as well. Please do reach out to us and make contact if you have any questions that you'd like answered. If you'd like to start the conversation about getting Project Ready underway, there's also a mechanism there for you to reach out and make contact. We're the people that you'll be making contact with directly, and we're the team that is here to support you. Lena, would you like to say anything further just to close us out?
Just thank you for giving up the time from your day to join us and to find out more about Project Ready. And as Trent said, please contact us. Our email addresses are on the Project Ready website. Reach out and we can have further discussions about how to implement Project Ready in your school and with your local businesses.
And just finally, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Lena and Rod and Janelle and the whole team, and our wonderful comm support person, Emma, who's joined us behind the scenes as well to make all this work. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you soon, and maybe even at a Project Ready Trainers Facilitator session. Cheers.
Thank you.